everyone, welcome back to the Sedona International Film Festival. I'm your host, Carol Kahn. We are coming to you live from Yavapai College at the Sedona campus and would like to thank our sponsors, Northern Arizona Healthcare. And joining me now is one of my favorite people as well, who has been to Sedona, I don't even know how many times, so you can answer me in a minute after I introduce you, but Vickie Sampson, so welcome. Welcome back, let's say.
Thank you. I know this is like 3 in a row, because we were here in 2020, and then 2021 in the summer, and now here.
And now here again. Yeah. So you were here when it was 107 degrees, and now tomorrow it should be like 22.
I know. I much prefer winter. It's really nice.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
And you live in LA, right?
I do. Yeah.
Yes.
So snow is going to be very exciting for me.
And especially here, because it's so beautiful.
So pretty.
Why do you like coming back to Sedona so often?
Well, Sedona has a very special place in my heart. In 2000, my first film, Click 3 Times, premiered here. And it was the first festival I'd ever been in. They flew us in, they put us up in a hotel, they fed us, we had parties, and I thought, all film festivals are going to be like this. And boy, was I surprised when I got back to LA and started going to other film festivals. It's like, no, nobody does that. And so it just stayed in my heart this whole time. And then 20 years later, I submitted another film, a short that I did, which premiered here in 2020, Reflections, and I was joyed to find out that, they did the same thing. They didn't fly us in, but they put us in a hotel, they fed us, parties. It's a total filmmakers festival, for sure.
Yes.
And all the people I met back then have stayed my friends on Facebook, like you and Tanya and Shannon and Patrick, everybody, and the filmmakers, the other filmmakers, we all have stayed in touch through Facebook and social media. And like I went to Miles Yakic film, I don't even know how to say his last name, sorry Miles. His film is premiering here tomorrow night, and I got to see it in LA. So that was a joy, to just connect with all the different people, and that's what I think is such a blessing about this festival, and the support of the community. I remember when I was here in 2000, and I was so surprised to see all the community people come out to watch movies. And I remember a guy saying, well, how can we see these short films? Like when you're not at the festival. And I said, talk to your theater owners and say, we want to see short films before features, But a lot of festivals, especially in LA, there's such a glut of festivals, and a lot of times it's basically just the filmmakers showing our films to each other, which is really sad. And you spend all this money to submit to film festivals, and basically, it's like, and of course the whole pandemic year of my film Reflections went all virtual, which was sad because it was really a film that needed conversation afterwards because of the subject matter. But this year I'm here as I presented a sound workshop last year, which was very popular, and I'm presenting another type of sound workshop for both moviegoers, movie lovers, and filmmakers. My passion and my mission is to get to the filmmakers to educate them about the possibilities of what sound can bring to your film. Like endless possibilities and creativity. But if you don't have the language to talk to a sound designer, you're just kind of turning it over to them. Sound is kind of considered the forgotten stepchild of the industry, I think sometimes. It's like, because it's an unknown and people think, oh, it's too technical for me. It's like, no, it doesn't have to be technical at all. It could be totally creative, but the filmmaker has to be open to hearing new things that haven't been in their movie yet. And that's the trick for a lot of filmmakers, is like they get used to hearing their bad sound or their location sound over and over and over, and it just becomes like anything new kind of ruffles their feathers, So my workshop is tomorrow here at Yavapai College in the workshop room. It's free to the public, it's free for everybody, and it's at 1 o'clock tomorrow on Wednesday.
And Vickie has a little bit of a background in this field, just a little bit. But your mom was also involved in sound and film.
Yes, my mom, I'm proud to say, was the first woman sound editor to win an Oscar, which proudly sits on my mantle at home. And people want to come over and get their picture with him. So his butt's all worn out because everybody's holding him out, like this. And I I should have had people wear gloves, but who thought of that? And that was for the movie The River, which was a 1985 release. And I was privileged to work with my mom for over 20 years on such films as On Golden Pond, Ordinary People, New York, New York, The Rose, The River, For the Boys. We did so many wonderful, wonderful films together. And I learned a lot of the craft, the thinking about sound from her, because she wasn't a technical person either. And that's why I like to talk to filmmakers and say, you don't have to be technical about sound. It's kind of like music, where you may not be able to express what you want from the music, but you'll know when you hear it. And it gives you a certain feeling. And that's what sound does. So for the workshop tomorrow, I did the sound design on a friend's film called Moon, written and directed by Toy Lee, who's coming into the festival today to be part of the conversation in the workshop. And we're going to do sort of a mock spotting session where we discuss, how do you envision the sound? And if you don't know what you don't know how to ask for what you don't know. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to use that as an example of kind of the before, the raw sound with no visual effects, and it's about creating sound on the moon in a woman's mind, and all the 27 tracks that I have of sound that make that layer of what we end up hearing in the movie. And it should be a pretty cool workshop, so I'm excited to present it.
Awesome. Nobody really understands what goes into the technicalities of sound, just like you said, of all the layers. I was like, wow, because you think when you watch a film, it's sight, right, and we hear things, but you think it's natural, you think it's actually happening, and it's so natural, but it really isn't.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing about sound is if you do it well, no one notices it. Mm-hmm. And you shouldn't notice it. It's like nobody goes to a movie to see sound effects except maybe Ben Burt fans. I love Ben, so I could say that. But it's sound is there to support the story in whatever form that is. If it's a comedy, I'm also showing some excerpts from a comedic short film called The Audition, which is about an actress who's trying out for an audition, and she kind of gestures a lot and does things. And so I put sound effects like a whip crack and a pistol, shot, because she does this with her hand. And I didn't know if the director's going to like it or not, and they loved it. So that was fun to do. But yeah, besides the raw sound that's recorded, like our sound right now with these boom mics above us, we have that raw sound, but then might be air conditioning that might be covering the tracks up, or you might have a different ambient behind you, and so we have to smooth all that out and then add more sounds to it, because we can always add sounds, we can't always take them away.
Right.
A lot of times we can, but usually, so we try to do everything as singularly as possible so that when we put it all into, I liken it to making a cake. So we take all these ingredients and we mix them together in just the right amounts, and then there's this batter, and we pour it into a pan, and then the re-recording mixer takes our pan and bakes it. And so all the sound editing is all those putting in of the ingredients, the background sounds, the sound effects, the ADR, voiceover, narration that you might have, or replacement ADR if there's a lot of wind and rain machines happening in the set. Group looping, which is all the people in a background in a restaurant. I mean, it goes on and on.
Yeah. You can tell that she knows exactly about sound. There's no discussion that you do not know what you're talking about.
And Foley is a great thing. I think there was a little film in the festival this year about Foley. So Foley is like the art of matching the actor's footsteps and movement. If I pick up something and set it down, it makes a sound. Everything like that has to be augmented, mainly for foreign versions of the movie, when they take out all the English dialogue and they add in their own language, all the sound that is accompanying. Like if I hit a table while I'm talking, I can't separate that sound, but if I separate my voice and then hit the table, I can use that sound. Mm-hmm. But everything is recreated over and over, and then balanced and blended so that the audience gets a feel, because film is a visual medium, but we only seen this. And sound can make everything around us come to life. Mm-hmm. Like that's the environment, So and there's sound design as well. Like, I can't go out to space and record space traffic like we did on Fifth Element. There's no space traffic to record, so that has to be created artificially and then combined in a way so every time we see space traffic, we can pop that sound in. So.
Well, the only kind of sound that I think that I would want is maybe lip syncing to Jennifer Lopez. Can you do that?
Sure.
And
We
actually
can do
make me
anything.
sound like Jennifer.
Yeah. There's voice. There's so many plugins now. It boggles my mind what we could do to manipulate sound. But it's kind of like Photoshop with a photo.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't really know if you're seeing just a photograph that somebody's taking, or you're seeing it with enhancements and bells and whistles and all that stuff. But a lot of people say, well, I don't want to know what's behind the curtain, with sound. And I say, look, even for me, when I go to a movie, I get lost in the story. And that's what you're supposed to do, is get lost in the story, and the sound helps to support that. And the only time I notice is if it's bad, or if it's out of sync, or if I see ADR that's out of sync, or footsteps, or something that's noticeably bad, then it takes you out of the movie, which it does for the audience as well.
Mm-hmm. And you are so trained in that. So, Vickie, I want to thank you so much for coming in and talking with us today. And your workshop is when? Again?
Tomorrow, Wednesday at 1 o'clock here at Yavapai College in the little workshop room there. And I have some fabulous handouts for people to take home and use, because as I said, my mission is to educate the filmmakers, because you can get so much more bang for your sound buck the more you know about it. And it won't destroy your enjoyment of watching movies. I promise it won't.
Well, thank you so much,
welcome.
Vickie, and a very talented woman, and we're so fortunate to have her come back several times to Sedona, and we're hoping you're coming back again next year. So
yes, I'm hoping to have a film here again next year. That would be great, but I'm always happy to do workshops, and I love being here and all the people, and it is like a reunion, like you said with Patrick, and it's very supportive environment for a filmmaker, and of all kinds. And I love what he said, like a 2-minute film maker is treated just the same as somebody
absolutely.
that's got hundreds of people in its back.
Yeah.
So,
And I want to do a shout out to Amy, I know she's watching because she texted me, but Amy wanted to be here for a film that she had in the film festival, and she couldn't be here. So I just want to make sure that we say hello to her, and we miss you and wish you were here with us. So, but we will be back with more filmmaker interviews after this.